Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Marianne Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Marianne Pinkston.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Marianne Pinkston, and this is The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. And we're going to talk about a great topic today because there's so many, so many myths and misgivings about what to do when you don't know if what you are eating is causing you harm, causing you illness, causing you joint pain, stomach upset. You know, we've talked about leaky gut and many different things, many different times. But today, Elimination Diet, I think, is going to get some great clarification. And I am joined by the great Laura LaValle, who has joined me many times before. And I'm so thankful, Laura, that you do this with me because you are a wealth of information. Every time you come on, I get a lot of great comments and reviews, and people are just so excited. So thank you for joining me again. Good morning.
Me again. Yeah, you know, the wealth of information tends to happen over a period of 30 years of being in a profession.
Doesn't it though?
It's nice that it's useful and it's helping people. So that's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you are teamed with your darling and wonderful husband, Jim LaValle, who, you know, the two of you power brain. If I could borrow your brains collectively for, a week, I wouldn't get a tenth of the information that I would know and love to have over a lifetime. You guys are fantastic. And so.
Yes, it definitely being in practice with my husband, Jim LaValle, who's, been in integrative medicine practice for years and years. Yes. Definitely expanded my view. And our topic today was one of the biggies.
Yes.
I had really no idea how powerful elimination diet process, with of course the goal being, like you mentioned, figuring out if you're having some kind of reactivity to some of the foods that you're eating.
Yes.
And I would have never dreamed that it could be as powerful as it is. And that's why I was real excited that I thought of it for a topic today, because it does deserve, we've mentioned it in passing, but it deserves a show, because you can do it fairly easily, but you do have to know how to do it. And it only takes about a month, 3 months for the elimination period and then a few weeks for the trials. But it's such a short period of time in the big scheme of things. And if it can take you out of pain or help you with another health issue, it's well worth the effort.
Well, and so why is diet now? I mean, the thing that people ask me all the time is like, 20 years ago, we didn't have to worry about eliminating things out of our diet. We could eat what was good for us and we liked, and we didn't have any issues. And then it seems like all of a sudden it's an issue. So
it was a lot less common than it is now. And it's a combination of factors. Stress is huge, and gut, if you're immune reactive to foods, it is a gut-centric problem. So that is a dysregulated immune system in the gut.
Yes.
So our guts are, impacted dramatically by environmental pesticides.
Yes.
That's a big one. They can also be some influence from vaccines. Mm-hmm. So I've seen people, like in a medical profession, have to take flu shots every year. Mm-hmm. And over time, they start developing, like eczema that they never had before, and we just start to look at, okay, well, sometimes they're forced to do these vaccines. I hope that will change. I hope my sister's one that has an issue, and it's a real issue. And hopefully now they'll allow a medical exemption. They wouldn't before, but anyway, yeah. So things like vaccines, but then there's just everyday things like, if you have to have a surgery or dental procedure, and say your microbiome's been kind of teetering on, hanging in there and being viable, and you have to go on a big round of antibiotics for something, and it just kind of knocks it. I mean, there's very often it can be stress induced. People might have all of a sudden something very stressful occur in their life, have to change jobs or lose a loved one or a financial thing that crops up, who knows, but then that can be triggering. Sometimes people exercise their way into this problem.
Really?
When it's too much intense exercise with not enough rest. You don't think about it, but the stress hormones from working out really hard, they upregulate and they can break down, lead to the upregulation of a compound that will break down what's called your tight junction proteins. And those are what keep the barrier, between where your immune cells reside and the stuff coming through in your intestinal tract. And when those open up, then you'll tend to start reacting to allergens, because as I think I explained it once, that it's like a case of mistaken identity. What makes something allergenic is this sequence of amino acids in a protein that is similar to the amino acids in bacteria. So it thinks it's something, like a pathogenic bacteria coming through, and it's really just a dairy protein, or they can be environmental as well,
Right.
So the proteins in dusts and pollens and things. So, but that can get triggered by a lot of intense exercise.
I say this, and I heard this at one point through A4M, the group that that I've been well educated from, where Jim LaValle and you and everybody participate, and the thought was that if you take, say, a Z-Pak or a round of amoxicillin or some of these different antibiotics, that it can knock out a round of good bacteria growing in your intestine, your microbiome, for up to 2 years. It could take 2 years for that good growth and balance of bacteria to come back. And that's right. One round.
And some strains, the studies really actually show some strains never come back. And that's why the probiotic supplements, I believe, will eventually be shown to be invaluable on that.
Yes.
The microbiome's tricky. And now that we have more testing for microbiome, and that would probably be another good topic for another time as we get into all that. But there is better testing now, and they are pretty good at making food recommendations based on your imbalances.
Yes.
Yeah. We use one called Jonah. And did you have them on?
No,
not yet. But that would be a great show. Super interesting. Yeah, that's just the one we use. But But yeah, I mean, so I really think, and the other thing is, I think people don't realize all the different conditions and problems that can be impacted by this. So I always like to kind of review it, because it's like, look, having, first of all, seasonal allergies is a big sign that you've got that breakdown.
Yes.
And most of the time when we have people do the elimination diet process, they find that when they get off of food allergens, it dramatically improves their seasonal allergies.
That post-nasal drip, that, or that.
Yeah, all of the horrible runny nose during allergy season and watery eyes, all of that. Asthma, it can improve. Any kind of irritable bowel type symptoms. And constipation just on its own. Sometimes people have that really severe constipation that just seems like doesn't matter what they take, what they drink, what they do, they just can't keep. That can be influenced by this, because this was a revelation that came way after I first became a dietitian, was the finding out that one of the mechanism of action of that is your serotonin production, because people think serotonin in brain, but serotonin's made, the vast majority of it is made in your gut. And serotonin is needed in the gut for motility.
Yeah.
And your cells that make the serotonin can get dysregulated when the microbiome is off.
Yes.
And so you can either make too little serotonin. So what's that mean? Low motility.
Yes.
You're not going to be going to the bathroom.
Yes.
Or
diarrhea.
Yes. Like chronic loose stool.
Yes.
From too much serotonin all the time.
Wow.
So, but just the chronic sinus itself, chronic congestion, postnasal drip, runny nose. I used to, before I did this process, just my nose would start running out of nowhere. And a lot of times it seemed to happen like when I'd start exercising, my nose would start running. Right. It drove me crazy. I don't have that problem anymore. And I did this process and I did food allergy testing as well. But why I like the elimination diet process is because it doesn't rely on accurate testing.
Exactly.
It is very hard to do.
Yes.
And I know I've mentioned this. These companies that do it are, thank God for them, because there are a couple of companies in particular that are really trying hard to make sure their tests are reliable and accurate.
Yes.
But they only have testing for maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 components of the immune system, IgE, 1 or 2 different types of IgG, and then the complement proteins, and then the C3b and D.
Yes.
Well, there's 12 different immunoglobulins, and we're testing for 3.
Right.
So and you can get IgA tested.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, runny nose, snoring, skin rashes, histaminic skin.
Yes.
Histaminic flares can be related to, food reactivities. A lot of people just do get off of all the supposedly high histamine foods, but we really find that won't do very much good if there's a major allergen that you're reactive to and you didn't know it.
Absolutely.
Because IgE, that's one of the big inflammatory substances that it makes is histamine.
Yes.
So if it's an IgE reactivity, you can get that redness. But pain is huge. Any kind of, muscle, joint pain.
Yes.
I'm trying to think what else I mentioned. Oh, autoimmunity. So if somebody, Sjogren's, how people go around having to do those drops all the times, and it can really be helped by a low allergen diet.
Wow.
Hashimoto's. A lot of people don't tend to, they either go too far, like I've seen elimination diets that take everything under the sun out of the diet.
Yeah.
Like forever.
Right.
And it's really not, in our view, necessary at all. You just need to find what you're reactive to. And there have been several pretty decent trials on the impact of gluten in particular being important in Hashimoto's. Yeah. So I wouldn't even mess around with what we call an elimination diet process necessarily. In fact, what we recommend for our patients is if you have Hashimoto's, that has to be a baseline thing. Yes. Because there's such strong studies showing that gluten-free diet takes down the thyroid peroxidase antibodies, takes down the thyroglobulin antibodies. And actually there was I think it's the TPO that was correlated with suppressing vitamin D somehow. So when on the gluten-free diet, the thyroid peroxidase came down and vitamin D went up.
That's great.
It was slight, but it did go up. And it decreases the incidence of nodules and developing cancer over time, staying off of gluten. So super important for Hashimoto's just as a baseline thing.
Absolutely.
But, IgA nephropathy. Okay. Not super common, but not rare,
Not anymore. Yeah.
No. And if you have it, you know what it is, but it's an autoimmune attack on your kidneys, and it can cause cystic kidneys and be very painful, extremely painful.
Yep.
And there was a study done at the University of North Carolina that found that they took people with IgA nephropathy, a group of them, and compared to healthy controls. And they tested them for antibodies. And what they found was elevated IgA1 and IgG in the nephropathy group, not in the controls. And one of the things that they were surprised about is that they were significantly higher than in controls. Nobody, not in either group, had IgE. Now, why is that significant?
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, because still we're in a world with conventional medicine teaching that really the only recognized food immune reactivity is IgE. Like as if it's not an IgE allergy, there's no other possibility for any other immunoglobulin to react to food, which doesn't even make common sense when you think, okay, all those immunoglobulins reside in there together. That's your acquired immune system in your gut.
Absolutely.
So it only makes sense that some of these other ones could be overproducing. And there's still kind of a common line in conventional practice that IgG just means you ate the food. And that this study proved, okay, that's not true.
Helpful, yes. Great.
And that they took the people off of the allergens and their pain improved significantly.
That's amazing.
So, so that's huge.
Yes.
So, and that's the other thing we have to, and I've mentioned Dr. Fasano before, who's one of the big researchers on gluten. And what I liked about it was finally a huge trials, which showed that sometimes when people do an elimination diet, and then I guess we better start talking about how you're supposed to do it.
No, this is good though. Kind of leading up.
But the elimination another one is unexplained headaches. That's a huge symptom. You get these terrible headaches. You go to the doctor, they can't find a tumor or anything else going on, right?
Yes.
Unexplained headaches are huge for this.
Yes, they are.
So Dr. Fasano conducted large trials, a couple of them on gluten intake and blinded. So people always want to say, oh, that gluten reactivity is just in people's head, because why would people get this idea? Because there are all kinds of people quoted in articles all over the place saying, oh, only a very small percentage have celiac. Well, that's true. But what isn't true is that celiac is not the only gluten sensitivity you can have.
Absolutely.
There's intolerance. What it's come to be called now is intolerance. So what that means is that in these blinded trials, they found that people after eating gluten, unbeknownst to them what the food contained or not, because it was blinded, and they would report symptoms. So that means there's no way it can be in your head, because you either eat a food and you get a symptom or you don't. And I know that was the way it was for me, who I was in the irritable bowel category, which when I was young, I was all through my younger years, had struggled with constipation. As I got older, it switched to more of diarrhea type. Well, you're not, it's not in, I'm not imagining that my stools got loose.
Right.
And you wish that it was in your head, but it's not.
Yes, but it's not.
But Correct. Dr. Fasano found the development of symptoms. And what they looked at was they did look at immune markers. And there were a number of people that got symptoms, tons, that they couldn't identify any immunoglobulin even that was what was causing the symptom.
Right.
What they called it was non-immune mediated intolerance. So sort of unidentified, but definitely people get the symptom, whatever it is, headache, upregulation of pain, severe or significant noticeable congestion, whatever it might be, skin flare, skin rashes. So anyway, and then weight loss. I don't want to skip on to how to do it until I mention, there aren't the massive trials on elimination diets for weight loss, like there are, say, low carb diet studies. There's been tons of them, but the ones that have been done are incredible on the results. There was one that was done in Turkey in particular, And it was us, like somewhere close to 100 people in the 80s, I think. And this, what they did was they compared an elimination diet to just a calorie restricted diet.
Mm-hmm.
Macros were the same in both groups, so it couldn't be macronutrient influence,
Right. Yeah.
And it was they put them on elimination diet, so they tested them for foods that they were reactive to. They had regulation of one or more immunoglobulins, and they took them off the foods that they were reactive to. And that was in the elimination diet group. And then they had some people that were just doing a calorie controlled diet over the 6 months. The elimination diet group lost almost 20 pounds. It was just shy of 19 pounds.
Wow.
In 6 months. And that's why when we talked at the beginning of this, I said how powerful this can be.
Yes.
Not only for other symptoms, pain and things like that, different conditions, it helps control autoimmune, everything we've mentioned, but weight loss.
Yeah.
So anytime I have clients that come in that their weight has just been so stubborn for so many years, and it doesn't matter if they did, Weight Watchers or low carb or keto or fill in the blank, right?
Yes.
Any myriad of different types of diets, and they might lose a little bit of weight, but it all comes right back on.
Absolutely.
And but almost 20 pounds in 6 months on the elimination. You want to know how much the calorie restricted group lost in that 6 months? You want to take a guess?
I would say maybe, 5 to 7 pounds or something. One. Oh my goodness. Wow.
And my guess as to why, because I noticed on the macronutrient breakdown that they did, it was almost 60% carb.
Wow.
And that will block if you have insulin, any kind of insulin resistance issue at all, which a lot of people with weight gain do have.
Absolutely. The majority. Yes.
They only lost, or it was 1 kilogram, 2.2 pounds.
Right. Wow.
And none of it was fat. Yeah. Now that's the other thing.
Exactly.
You remember, Marianne, at my medical lectures when we're at the A4M, one of the big things I point out is that calorie restricted diets, you will lose as much lean as fat.
Absolutely.
And there are some studies showing calorie restricted diets, people lost weight, but no body fat percent.
Right.
That means every pound they lost was lean mass. That is horrendous.
It is horrendous.
That is a horrible thing to do to somebody.
Absolutely.
That's why for years and years now, when these revelations, when these things started being found in studies, we just were like, look, I can't even, we used to kind of say, oh, if you must go back to Weight Watchers or, or whatever it is. Now we just don't recommend it. Absolutely. I mean, it's just not the way to go. But that's how powerful the elimination diet can be for even weight loss.
Absolutely. Well, and so when people are eliminating, what are they eliminating? Roll in there.
Eliminate this. There's some key things. So you eliminate, I recommend eliminating at least both wheat and dairy.
Okay.
Because those are the two most common food
allergens
and they're the strongest food allergens. Soy is also pretty strongly allergenic. Yes. Soybeans, as are eggs.
Yes.
But any food that you want to test out, and what I recommend is if you eat a good many eggs, eliminate them because you do tend to become reactive to the foods that you eat fairly often, fairly regularly, For example, I had a woman who was vegetarian. She was eating wheat. Of course, she wasn't eating dairy because she had eliminated that already, but she was eating a lot of soy protein, soy patties and different things to get her protein.
Yeah.
And so it was really tough to convince her to get off of that soy. Yeah. But boy, was she glad that she did because she was had decided to become vegetarian after having found that she had breast cancer, and they did a mastectomy on her, and on her right side. And she decided, I've got to get healthy. So she decided, I'm going to go vegetarian. And she started running, jogging.
Sure.
And, but with the mastectomy, and they take the lymph glands and everything, she was getting the, what's it called with the fluid?
The edema, I'm
the term, but the edema real bad, and her arm would swell up. But it would also be very painful.
Yeah.
And do when she reintroduced the soy, her arm swelled all up and just throbbed.
Wow.
So she was having immune reactivity to that soy.
Interesting.
So, so it's any allergen that you want to test out. Mm-hmm. So if people suspect corn, you can get corn out of there.
Yep.
But wheat and dairy are the absolute minimum.
Right.
But the most highly allergenic foods, and you generally do at least these top 7. This is a real thorough. You'll see longer lists. You'll see people that recommend getting off of beef as one of them. Beef is not honestly considered an allergenic food.
Correct.
But wheat and any gluten source, dairy.
Okay.
Now, what people have to remember with dairy, all the different forms, so even yogurt. A lot of times people think yogurt is safe because it's fermented with the, probiotics, the lactobacillus acidophilus.
Yeah.
Well, all that does is that takes the lactose down. Mm-hmm. Those organisms eat, for lack of a better word, they ferment, they use the sugars in the milk as their food source.
Right.
And that's the lactose. So the lactose is reduced, but the allergenic proteins aren't.
Right.
So those, allergenic dairy proteins are still in there. So it's still allergenic.
So great point, because many times people will think, I'll get lactose-free milk and my symptoms go away. And what people don't understand is that there's a sugar inside of dairy called lactose, but there's the milk or the cow protein.
Yes.
And
those are the caseins and the whey.
Yes.
And whey is a big one that people need to watch as well. So if people use whey protein for protein shakes, there's whey protein in a lot of protein bars.
Yes.
So you have to watch out for sources of whey, and make sure you get all if you eat, cheese, if you drink milk, if you eat ice cream, yogurt, all of it has to be taken out.
Yes.
Okay. Wheat and gluten, dairy, eggs, peanuts, and all other sources of tree nuts. So recommend getting off of any nut that you consume fairly regularly. A lot of people use almond milk now as a replacement. So we might want to get off of almonds as an example. Sure. If you've been using almond milk every day for years. Yeah. I have an interesting story on that. We had a woman with vitiligo once, and she got a hold of our metabolic code book, and she did an elimination diet, and she got a lot better. She lost weight. She felt better. She started to see some improvement, but then she started to go backwards on her skin. Yeah. And she had switched to almond milk, and she had been on it a long time, and she hadn't done enough work, as we've talked about, restoring the gut microbiome, restoring, balance to gut immunity. Right. So that you try to prevent those problems, where the new foods that you eat, you just become allergic to them. So it's important to note this elimination diet process, it will be invaluable. Yes. But I really recommend seeking an integrative medicine practitioner to work with that can work on your gut immune balance. Yes. So that in the future, you don't just become allergic to whatever the new foods are that you're eating, So wheat, gluten, all the sources of dairy, peanuts, tree nuts. So that's pretty much every other kind of nut. Yeah. And eggs and soy. And then the other big allergen is shrimp and Fish is fairly allergenic.
Yep.
Usually if people are, had an anaphylactic to shrimp, you're never going to reintroduce that.
Right.
That's just out.
That's different. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But I would say if you want to test it out, let's say you eat shrimp fairly often, and you just want to know, then just eliminate it along with these other foods. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to test, like I said, corn. A lot of people are curious about corn. And I find it to be, sometimes people are reactive.
But when they eliminate, though, they eliminate maybe for a couple of days or a week or what's the appropriate.
That's exactly it. So that's the thing. You can't just go off of something. Like, here's what I find people doing an awful lot of the time is, it might be gluten. So they just get off of gluten and they don't eliminate any of the other allergens. And very often, they're also or only pretty much solely reactive to dairy. So if you go off the gluten and you still have the dairy, but a lot of people are somewhat reactive to both. I was reactive to both. I was strongest with gluten, but I was reactive to both. Yeah. Gluten and wheat, gluten and dairy. Mm-hmm. So you cannot just go off of it for a week. Right. You really need to be off of it for a good 3 weeks. I really tried to hunt this down because you'd see elimination diets online. Everybody and their brother has a version of it. And so some people say, like, just go off of these foods for a week and then start reintroducing, which you can't. Yeah. You can do just a week. But the longer you can do, what will happen is your body, I found a resource somewhere that said it's thought that it takes a good 3 weeks for all those inflammatory compounds that get made by the immunoglobulins to clear out of your system. Yes. Now, I've had people, I think I shared the story about the type 1 person with type 1 diabetes and eggs. Mm-hmm. And it was a young man, and he only eliminated them for like a week, 10 days. And he did go off of the other allergens. But when eggs were like a favorite food, he loved them. And I said, if you could at least just go off of the eggs for like a week or 10 days. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he made it to the 10 days, but for a good week, he was off. When he ate eggs again, and he's saying, there's no way I'm reactive to eggs because, I don't have anything wrong now. Well, he did have something wrong. Sure. He wasn't managing his diabetes well. He wasn't feeling the greatest a lot of the time.
Correct.
So your body can adapt to this buildup of all these inflammatory cytokines over time.
Yes.
And so when you're eating a food all the time, you have no way of knowing if it would cause a symptom or not. The only way to know is to go off of it.
Yes.
When he ate the eggs again, he got severe nausea, and nausea. And he was thinking, I'm not reacting to these eggs. You're crazy.
Right. Right.
So that's how everybody is. We all feel that way, yes. But so go off of them, preferably if you can last a good 3 weeks. If you want to break down and have something before that, I would recommend not before 10 days to 2 weeks. But if you do, you do, just make sure you only eat that one allergen and watch yourself for symptoms.
Right.
So don't eat anything else funky or weird in your diet. Like I had a person that going through Costco, ate a sample of star fruit.
Wow.
And at the same time, she had done a food allergen reintroduction. I can't remember which it was, but say it was wheat.
Yeah.
And so she had like an oral allergy response. Have you heard of like itchiness and stuff? The lips swell and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not typical for wheat. That's really strange. So I said, let's kind of go through that day. And then she remembered, I ate that fruit at Costco. So it takes a little bit of this is not willy-nilly. You do have to try to keep some focus here.
Right. Journal. Just journal what you're doing.
production process.
Sure.
You know, you're careful to eliminate everything.
Mm-hmm.
For example, okay, another common thing. If people love sushi,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they think of, oh, I can have sushi, right? Except soy sauce is fermented wheat and soy.
Right.
So regular soy sauce is not gluten-free.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have sushi, but if you're also eliminating soy,
Yes.
you can't have the soy sauce at all.
Yeah.
And but at home, you can get it and take it home. And there's a product that we've recommended for years, coconut aminos. It's made from coconut sap.
Huh.
And it's excellent. It tastes very good, tastes almost exactly like soy.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's a little trick you can
Okay.
is, you know, and don't get the edamame because that's soy.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the rice is gluten-free, you know.
Yeah.
So, so really look at your labels on any sauces and things like that. Like I had a woman that blew Elimination Diet because she was using a ranch seasoning packet in her turkey burgers, and it had dairy in it.
Yeah.
You know? So it's not a big deal. You just get off of that and you go for another, 10 days or whatever, 2 weeks, and then you're good to go.
Sure.
But that woman was very reactive to whey, we found. Very reactive. And she had significant weight issue. And when she went off of whey, she started losing weight. So that's the process is, make your list, the foods that you're going to go off of, and look at labels of any packaged foods. Make sure there's no added of one of the allergens.
Yep.
And then you're good to go. Then you set your diet around, usually it's try to eat real clean with like clean proteins, vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, salads, watch salad dressings.
Yeah, big. Yes.
If people are cream drinkers in their coffee, you have to get a non-dairy cream.
Yep.
I recommend it not being almond milk.
Yep.
But there are plenty of alternative different nut pods and things like that.
Sure. Many will do oat, maybe.
Oat, yes.
Gotta be careful there too.
Well, the only reason oats ever have gluten is from cross-contamination. It's the tiniest little amount.
Yeah.
Normally, I don't even recommend people having to go to the extent of like, if they like having some oats here and there, a gluten-free oat. That is certified gluten-free. That's needed for people with celiac, you know.
Yes.
And some autistic, autism spectrum disorder or that sensitive. That brings up butter. There are non-dairy butter products now. Mykonos is a brand. You can go that route, or I don't mind a little bit of butter because the amount of protein in butter is, from the solids in the, in the cream is very, very low. A way to take that down even further is instead of butter, use ghee. That's what's clarified out of the butter.
Yep.
Okay. So you can go that route.
Yeah.
But a little bit of butter usually won't be a problem for the vast majority of people.
Good.
So you don't want to overdo butter. You don't want to have a ton of it. You don't, like back in the bulletproof coffee days when people were putting a lot of, like 2 tablespoons of butter in their coffee or something.
Exactly.
That's a little much,
Yeah.
But a normal amount of butter to flavor a vegetable, a teaspoon or whatever is fine.
Good.
Okay. So after 3 weeks, then you start trying your allergenic foods again, one by one.
Mm-hmm.
I really recommend just jotting it down somewhere, keeping a note in your phone. So you know what date you did it.
Good journal. Yep.
And eat a normal portion. Don't just nibble it. Eat a normal amount. So if you want a yogurt, again, have some yogurt and have the normal amount,
Yeah.
But then watch yourself for symptoms. And sometimes when the reactivity is really strong, there will be absolutely no question. people will feel immediately bad.
Mm-hmm.
But jot down the symptom, whether it was, oh my gosh, I got a headache, or, oh, I got so fatigued, I had to go lay down.
Wow.
I felt terrible,
Yeah.
So sometimes you won't have the symptom until like that night. You'll notice you congest up in bed, whereas your sinuses have been cleared, and then you're waking up and you're like, oh my gosh, where'd this congestion come from? Well, I ate that, whatever, cheese or fill in the blank, right?
Yes.
Achiness. Sometimes they'll flare up fairly quick. A lot of times, skin rashes will flare up pretty quickly.
Yep.
Sometimes things won't happen until more like that night or the next day.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it where people were like, I didn't feel the greatest, but then the next day I woke up and my hips hurt, or whatever it is, pain, flared up, and that might take a little longer to come on.
Yep.
The gut symptoms, if it's constipation, that won't happen again, usually like right now. It'll take a little bit for that to come back. But diarrhea, a lot of times will be almost immediate. But by the same token, it clears up quickly too, typically. Going off the allergens 2-3 days, people are amazed how much more solid their stools will be in just that short a time. Then it's just a matter of figuring out which of the foods is contributing to it. It could be more than one, know.
Right.
But you just do it one at a time. So let's say you decide to try eggs first, and you didn't seem to have any symptom. What I recommend is, that's fine. It. Sometimes if it's borderline, I wasn't sure, maybe I got a slight headache, wait a couple days, have another serving, and see if it kicks it in.
Right.
But once you test it and you find out, yes, I had a symptom, or no, I didn't, go back off the food so that it's real clean to test the next food.
Right.
Then you can test out some peanut butter or some almonds or whatever, fill in the blank. And then go through that process till you've tested all of them. And then you look at the total picture and you go, well, man, did I ever have symptoms with gluten, moderate with dairy, and maybe slight with eggs. So what do you do with that?
Yeah.
Well, depending on if you're trying to lose weight, it's best to, just even if it's slight, because sometimes I'll tell you one that is a weird one. People that have throat clearing, chronic, like they're always, because it's like a scratchiness in the throat.
Yep.
And they tend to think like, well, that's just a little throat scratch. But that little throat scratch means you have inflammatory compounds getting made in your body all the time to whatever it is that's causing that. Yeah. So don't underestimate that slight symptom, seemingly slight.
True.
Stay off that food that creates that issue. And now, here's what, for maintenance, what people will typically want to do is they'll, like for me, I've repaired my gut to the point now that I can go to a nice restaurant and they bring these lovely breads, and I can have a small piece of bread and it doesn't wreck me. Whereas earlier in my process, until my gut healed up, one of the big things that I would notice is a big mood shift. That's another thing I forgot to mention.
True.
I would kind of get like in a bad mood pretty quickly, like feel irritable or like, edgy.
Yep.
And so that's, I'm glad I brought that up, because the edginess, but the point being, also overnight weight gain. I weigh that's another thing I recommend. Weigh yourself every single day while you're off the foods. Then when you try a food, overnight weight gain, it's typically about 2 pounds. Sometimes it can be more. That's fluid.
That is fluid.
Inflammatory cytokine. They create this, fluid retention.
Yes.
And so that's another big symptom. So fluid retention itself is a symptom.
Correct.
A lot of times when people are losing weight on low allergen diets, a lot of it is excess fluid that their bodies have been holding on to.
Yes. They'll wake up the next day and see a 3 to 5 pound shift and think, oh, I gained all that weight back just because I had something. It's just not weight. It's not fat. It's fluid inflammatory.
But what I was starting to tell is that it took a long time. Now I could do this much sooner with dairy. Dairy tended to just boom, my nose would run. That was really my main symptom. Nothing else. No pain, and over time that went away. So I can have regular cow's milk dairy. What I tend to do, Jim, my husband had a horrible childhood health issue and was on antibiotics practically his whole childhood. Sometimes when people have that kind of a significant health scenario in childhood, there's only so much you're going to be able to rehab that immune system. He just has never gotten to where he's gotten into good tolerance of dairy. He'll congest so bad. He just won't be able to sleep at night because he'll congest up so badly. Oh, snoring. That's another thing that can be alleviated with low allergen diets. But anyway, my dairy issue went away over time. I can have it. I don't have it all the time. I will notice some congestion coming back if I eat it too regularly.
Yeah.
But I'm fine if I have it out at a meal.
Gotcha.
We go slow and eat hardly any. That's me. And that's what people will figure out. It's like, hey, if I go on that wheat and my pain is crazy, naturally, you're not going to want to eat that wheat anymore, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
So you just feel your way into what you can tolerate for being able to have a little bit here and there as you tolerate. Some foods you may not really tolerate at all.
Correct.
It may take my wheat, being able to eat the small piece without flaring, took like years.
Wow.
So it wasn't quick.
So patience is the key.
Well, patience and having a respect for your body. But I just find that most people don't want to get headaches.
Yes.
They don't want to have severe seasonal allergies every year. They want to be better with these things. So it's worth it. And I will have to say, certain foods you do tend, especially wheat. I mean, you just there's nothing better than baked bread or real pizza crust. Oh, that's another thing. Double O Italian flour it's higher starch, low protein.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people will be able to eat a pizza made with double O Italian flour. It's a soft, fluffy, starchier flour.
Okay.
And I'll never forget a few years ago, I was like, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to eat a double O pizza. And so it's a pizza made with the crust with that double O flour. And I did not get symptomatic. I didn't get the diarrhea from it.
Check that out. All right. That is interesting.
So you find ways to live.
Yes.
But I just encourage people, don't push it. If you get that scratch, why do you want to? They have found that these inflammatory cytokines are one of the biggest sources of inflammation in people's bodies.
Yes.
That's from, the gut.
Yes.
So working on your gut microbiome, knowing your reactive foods. And I've never, I say this all the time, and I'm not bragging and I'm not looking for a compliment, but I'm 65. My weight, I'm slender still. My weight is well managed. You see me, you go, that kept yourself in shape. Now, yes, I exercise, but I don't exercise like a fiend.
You don't have to, right?
Right? I should exercise more. But I mean, I exercise to stay toned and fit,
Yes.
But the point being, it's so nice to be 65 and I don't struggle with my weight and
Right.
pain.
And
You see
pain.
people at this age starting to really hobble around, and
Yes.
I'm pain-free.
Yes.
I don't have to be on a lot of medication. I don't have plaque in my arteries.
Yes.
That one I was very happy about, because strong genetics for that in my family.
Yes.
And I did the scan on my heart and no plaque.
Wonderful.
So, to be this age, but I was fortunate to learn about all this when I was younger.
Yes.
But you know what? It doesn't matter. If you're 65 and you're just starting and you're just now hearing this messaging,
Mhm.
well, you can improve the quality of your life from here on out. And that's why, my husband has kind of coined this little phrase, you deserve vitality at every stage of life, no matter what your circumstances have been, no matter how old you are. I mean, we have people that we turn around at age 80, that turn around with starting a health program. So
Yes.
really, I can't encourage people enough to try this. And especially if you have any of these symptoms that we've mentioned, or it's just stubborn weight, or it's just that scratchy throat.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, you've hit on all the things that people are concerned about,
Yeah.
and it's a simple, it isn't simple, but it does boil down to a more simple answer of what
I was working on a pretty good case of fibro when I first started with all my exploration.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of muscle held on to lactic acid, got sore really quickly after exercise, very fatigued.
Yes.
And so that, I'd go get a massage and I'd just be right back tight again.
Absolutely.
And that, to have that turnaround, I mean, that's huge. And I was gaining weight, obviously. So, I mean, it's quality of life, people. You don't have to live with this. And very often it can come from food. And, I remember years ago, when I just started into school for dietetics, seeing a video of people with MS walking normally, and there was a doctor, and I can't remember the practitioner's name, but then he'd give them an allergen, and they all of a sudden have that unsteady gait and can hardly walk again.
Amazing, right?
And I thought it was a scam.
Right.
It's not a scam.
It's not.
It's not. It really is not a scam.
Wow.
And that's what I think people need to remember on all this. This has still got to trickle down into more conventional medical education.
Absolutely.
But there are, these are qualified, licensed health professionals like me that are scouring the literature, finding the studies and applying them.
Yes.
And,
Absolutely.
it's invaluable to have the expanded, you have to remember conventional medical, like I saw Peter Attia say, when somebody says this is bunk or, about something he's saying about VO2 max or whatever.
Right.
And getting a lot of criticism. And he's like, well, ask your physician how many hours in exercise physiology they had in medical school and post-medical school.
Absolutely.
I'm studying it incessantly.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the same with these nutritional
absolutely
tools that we can apply for people for their health.
Yes.
And it's just not taught. And, I gave a Rotary Club luncheon talk, and there was one of the physicians that worked at the hospital where I worked at the time. And it was like a half an hour, really 20 minutes, because I allowed time for questions. And he came up and he said, do you know I learned more in that half hour than I did on nutrition full time in medical school?
Exactly. Isn't that something? Wow. Wow. Well, I'm old.
Okay, yes, not that many people have celiac, but there are so many health problems that can flare up as a result of this immune reactivity to foods. It is well worth it. And in the beginning, I mourned my bread, but it isn't worth it. It isn't worth it to have fibromyalgia.
It isn't. Yes. Well, those are
happily.
Absolutely. And these are all fantastic ways of getting at that. I'm so thankful for you. We've hit our hour, if you can believe that, Laura. I love this. This is such wonderful information. Thank you. Where can people find more about this and you and metabolic code and all these wonderful?
Well, we are. Keep your eyes open. We're working on the next edition of our Cracking the Metabolic Code book. And I say ours because I'm not the listed author, but I did all the edits on that book years ago. I did all the fact checking with the editor at the publisher back when you had to have a publisher.
Yes.
And this year we're planning to come out with the revised version, and I want to come out with a diet book as well. So
great.
Hopefully we will have a diet book soon.
Yeah, and we will have that.
Right now, my Facebook page is Laura LaValle, nutritionist.
Very
Facebook.
good.
Yep.
Very, very good. Yes,
and if you want to pick up the Cracking the Metabolic Code book, there's some discussion of allergies and diet and all that in that book as well.
Absolutely. Stay tuned. I'm going to have that advertised all over the place. I'm so excited. Jim mentioned that too last time we had it on. We will have that advertised.
Yeah, we're actually actively working on. Of course, it's in spurts, like when we have time. But,
yes. Well, and we will, you can go to drpbetterlife.com and see our previous shows and much of what we've talked about, in gut and all nutrition issues. And you've been great. So drpbetterlife.com and catch our previous shows. And I'll have all of this listed as well on the website. And so I appreciate you, Laura, so much as always for being on. And we'll do it again. I know we've got plenty of topics as long as my leg, I think, that we could go over.
Yeah, we did come up with
on. So we did. So we will we'll have you back and do. And everybody, I appreciate you joining in. And with drpbetterlife.com, check it out, subscribe, and listen to us on Spotify and iTunes, as well as catching us visually on YouTube and the YouTube network, where I have so many people listed, so many channels listed for like-minded thought work. And so please join us next time. And everybody, take great care of yourself out there. We'll catch you next time.
You've been enjoying The Better Life with Dr. Marianne Pinkston. For more information, go to drpthebetterlife.com. That's drpthebetterlife.com. And listen next week for The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston.